Imagine a river that is the source of life for 25 million people. Now picture that same river so clogged with trash that you can't even see the water. It sounds impossible, right? Well, we're about to dive into the story of the Sitaram River. It's a lifeline that has become one of the most polluted waterways on the entire planet, and it's a powerful warning about a very modern kind of water crisis.
So to really get what's going on here, we have to understand this one key idea: economic water scarcity. See, this isn't about a drought. It's not that the river is empty. The tragedy is that the river is full, but it's just too toxic to use. It's a total paradox, and it is the absolute heart of the Sitaram story.
All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start by looking at the river's vital role. Then we'll get into where all the pollution comes from and the crises it's creating. After that, we'll check out the fight to save it, and finally, what this all means for the rest of the world.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Because before the Sitaram got famous for being polluted, it was, and for millions of people it still is, an absolutely essential river of life.
A staggering 25 million people. That's how many people in West Java, Indonesia, depend on this single river system, every single day. Just to put that into perspective for you, that is more than the entire population of Australia, all relying on this one waterway.
And it stretches for 300 kilometers, acting as this critical artery for the whole region. So its health isn't just about the environment, It directly impacts the well-being of the communities and the economy that have been built all around it.
And its job is incredibly diverse. We're talking drinking water for major cities, irrigation for huge areas of farmland, water for factories, and it even powers 3 massive hydroelectric dams. To put it simply, this river underpins, well, everything.
Which just makes its transformation all the more heartbreaking. So how did this life-giving river become so incredibly dangerously toxic? Let's take a look.
The pollution really boils down to 2 main culprits, these twin threats: industrial discharge and domestic waste. You can think of it as one story about rapid, unregulated development, and another about not having the right infrastructure for a huge, growing population.
Now, on the industrial side, the scale of this is just immense. You've got over 2,000 factories lining the river, with the textile industry being one of the biggest polluters, and they're releasing this toxic cocktail of heavy metals. We're talking lead, mercury, arsenic, often dumped directly into the water with zero treatment.
Then you have the domestic side, and the problem there is just as visible. Millions of people don't have proper waste disposal systems, so what happens? The river becomes the default dump. This quote really says it all. The amount of plastic and household garbage is so overwhelming it can literally cover the entire surface of the water.
And all of this pollution, day in and day out, has triggered what you could call a cascade of crises. It's taken a devastating toll on both the environment and, of course, the people who need it to survive.
In some parts, the river is described with this truly chilling phrase, biologically dead. What that means is the water is so toxic and so starved of oxygen that the basic building blocks of life, the fish, the plants, the microorganisms, they just can't survive anymore.
And that damage creates this terrible ripple effect. Fish populations have just collapsed, which wipes out people's livelihoods. But the pollution doesn't just stay in the river. No, it seeps into the surrounding farmland, contaminating the very soil that's used to grow food.
And that, of course, brings us to the profound human cost. People who have to use this water for washing and cooking are suffering from constant skin problems and waterborne diseases. And that long-term exposure to those heavy metals we mentioned, that leads to severe chronic health issues. Not to mention, the contaminated crops threaten the entire food chain.
But the story doesn't end there. Faced with this absolute catastrophe, there is now a massive effort to try and bring the Sitaram back from the brink. But let's be clear, it is a truly uphill battle.
Back in 2018, the government launched the Sitaram Harm Program. This was an incredibly ambitious plan with a huge goal: make the river's water drinkable again. The reality, though, is that progress has been slow. The sheer scale of the pollution and the enormous challenge of actually enforcing regulations on thousands of factories, well, those have been major roadblocks.
So, what can we all take away from this? Because the story of the Sitaram, it isn't just some local issue happening halfway around the world. It really serves as a stark, global warning. I think there are 3 huge lessons here. First, just having water isn't enough if it's not safe to use. Second, any kind of economic growth that just ignores the environmental costs will eventually come back to bite you with a massive bill. And third, protecting our water isn't just a nice idea. It requires real investment in infrastructure and a serious commitment to enforcing the rules. At the end of the day, the Citerum shows us what the future could look like for any region that prioritizes speed of development over sustainable practices. It really does stand as a clear and powerful cautionary tale for all of us.
And that leaves us with one critical question. The Citerum is sending a very clear signal, a warning about the future of our water, our development, and our health. The real question is, are we listening?